This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/Wondery.
Looking for your best sleep ever? Sleep Number smart beds are literally made for you. They adapt to your changing needs. So whether you're dealing with sore muscles or running hot at night, your bed automatically adjusts for optimal comfort. Want softer, firmer, cooler, warmer? With personalized firmness settings and temperature control that cools up to 20 times faster than leading competitors, you'll get the perfect sleep environment every night. Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed? So you can choose your ideal comfort on either side. And now it's the Sleep Number Everything Smart Bed sale. Every smart bed and base are on sale during our Memorial Day event, up to 50% off, limited time, exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. See store or sleepnumber.com for details.
How often does this happen? I watched the Wild lose in overtime.
Yes.
Clicked immediately to the Timberwolves to watch Miami execute a very slick inbound of the ball with seconds remaining to some commie who got free. And he sinks the basket and gets fouled.
We foul him. Yes.
And they get so Miami gets a 1-point victory.
Then we have 7 seconds to make a good shot, and they didn't make a good shot all night. They came out. You know, the other day I did the whole thing about how the NBA, when you're a good team, you just screw around for 3 quarters and then win it. Well, they tried that again last night, but this coach from Miami is pretty smart. Yeah. So even though he had half his team, Butler never plays here because he doesn't want to get booed. And then he had 2 other guys that play a lot not playing. But he's going to keep trying to win the game. And they got exactly what they deserved. Exactly what they deserved. Our guy Ant just goes down, throwing away threes. I am making a bold prediction on this overrated Twins team, Timberwolves team.
Here we go.
Twins too. Playing. They're going to be 7 through 10.
Really?
Probably 7 or 8.
That is a hot sports take.
The West is loaded.
Boy, that's an early take.
That is an early take. But they've so far, virtually every time I've watched them, they've disgusted me. So,
that's a hot sports take.
I just wanted to say that I saw our 2 locals both lose within a minute of each other by 1 score.
But the Wild limping in from California, and they had the flight arrived at 6 excuse. They had to scrounge to get a goal with 5 minutes to go to get into overtime.
They didn't even have a morning skate.
Yeah. Oh wow. That's really good. But they won. They got 5 out of 6 points on the road. So
and they still don't shoot enough when they have the puck on a power play.
Okay.
They got to shoot more.
Want to stop, dancing around. But
and our Vikes had a hell of a game.
God, was that
people
terrible.
Actually paid to watch that game.
People were flying in from Minnesota left and right.
That's
but
not
also,
an easy flight either.
Also, I think a lot of them are transplants.
Sure.
Georgia, if you're in Georgia, you have to drive to Jacksonville. If you're in Florida, you drive there. But they said that half the crowd was Viking fans.
I had people yesterday in New York, a couple in New York, kid I used to have and her husband. They found a Vikings bar.
Oh, really?
It was packed.
Really?
With Vikings jerseys. Every town in America must have bars for every team.
There is a site, I know Pat probably is familiar with this, but there is a website that shows you location, or I think you enter the zip code or whatever, and it'll show you the closest Vikings bar.
This looked like a neat Irish-type pub.
Because there's a cool one in San Diego that we went during spring break, because I wanted to check it out. It was a really neat bar. But it's very famous for having a lot of Viking fans at every game.
The 2 most famous, though, ones that have a bar every place are Buffalo and Green Bay.
For sure.
Buffalo has a bar every place. And
Does
and
Buffalo
so
have a
does Green
bar in
Bay.
the Twin Cities?
I think so.
Yeah, they got a couple of them.
Does
They
Green
used to have
Bay?
one down in They used to have one down in Savage in Buffalo.
Is it the Buffalo Tap? Is that what it's called?
I'm not sure.
How
Maybe
about
they
the
changed
Green
the name.
Bushers?
All over. Yeah, all
suppose
over.
anywhere,
They
huh?
had lunch. They had the bar right over on the was the Saints bar. What's the name of it? It's over on Lexington, off Lexington, over by.
Oh, I know what you
behind
mean.
the apartment buildings next to the State Fair.
I know
What's
what
the
you
name of
mean,
that place?
yeah.
That used to be All Packer Bar. Yeah, that place. The one that Giggles owns.
Yeah.
The ones that Giggles
Yeah, I can't
owned
think of the name of
originally.
it.
Originally. Now Giggles just makes all his money at the State
At the fair, right.
He didn't basically work. You know who's a noble bartender for hours and hours at the State Fair
I don't know.
for Giggles? Tim Cheetah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's where the Cheetah works like a shift or two a week at Mancini's at the bar in the
I didn't know that.
in
Yeah.
the afternoon. But he makes more money in 16 days at the State Fair or whatever, 12 days at the State Fair than he does with his umpire's pension. For
In fact, well, you know when you're having a long day of walking around at the fair, you go, let's just cap one off at Giggles quick.
Yeah,
Cheetah will
right.
hook us up.
Cheetah's there hours and hours of the day up there. So
Well, and I take it he's making the money on tipping, is what you're telling me.
mostly tips, but
Yeah.
I'm sure Giggles probably gives him a cut too with them,
Yeah.
whatever the proceeds are up there. So anyway,
What do you think of our Vikes?
Boy, we
I
tried
did
hard.
not see it all. I did not watch the whole thing, but I did. I did watch most of the second half, and then I hit the thing on YouTube TV. What's your streamer? You still got Comcast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got streaming for YouTube TV. And on YouTube TV, if the game was on one of their channels,
Yeah.
they got a key plays element where you hit it and then they give you the key plays. Usually with an NFL game, they got 35, 40 of them.
Yeah.
They could only come up with 23 on
There wasn't many.
on the Jags and the Vikes. It was a quick little read at the key plays.
What's
But,
wrong with Trevor Lawrence?
He hurt his non-throwing shoulder.
and he stinks.
Well, by the way, so does Mac Jones. He ain't any better.
Well, it astounds me.
I thought Trevor
That
Lawrence got
Bill-
into the playoffs last year.
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
But he's faded. But Mac Jones, it astounds me that Belichick thought this could be his quarterback up in New England.
Well, I think the reason they drafted him is he got the glowing endorsement from Nick Saban, his good buddy.
Yeah, well, he was wrong.
In
about
fact, yesterday's game, gentlemen, was so unique
How unique was it?
in Vikings history. The last time the Vikings won a game by only kicking field goals was
It was a hell of a game. I mean,
Really?
when they beat the Rams in '89. That's the last time the Vikings beat.
On the occasion of the tirade from Burns?
That was the post gamer was Burnsy's
I'll be
meltdown.
damned.
Yeah, what was it? 18 to
1989.
yeah, but what was the score? 18 to something?
No, because they remember the game winner. They went to overtime
21
against the Rams. Merriweather blocked a punt for a safety.
Okay.
And they won in overtime 23-21.
Okay.
All field goals?
All
the
field
way,
goals, 7
He
field goals.
also won a game in the early 70s against the Packers with all field goals, 3-0.
Oh,
That was the game where John Brockington had the Vikings had 60 yards in total offense, I believe.
wow.
And
That's hard to do.
They were terrible. Gary Quazzo was awful. And it was 3-0, and John Brockington was a rookie running back for the Packers, and he rushed for like 150 yards. And the Packers would go down there, and they'd get down on the 10, and they'd get a kick blocked, and they'd turn it over or something. Bud's defense would rise up and make another
What's
play.
wrong with
3-0.
Sam? Is he going the way of Dobbsy?
He played okay, except when they were in the red zone.
Well,
He
how
played
about
okay, except for throwing interceptions in the end zone, which wasn't good.
two of them, right?
Well, but I'll give him this. The second pick, the first one he threw was a deflection, which he didn't throw the best pass. The second one, the guy never caught the ball in the end zone. The Jacksonville guy. He was rolling on top of the ball. He never had possession of it.
Yeah, but he threw it to him.
But he did throw it to him.
But
I'm not defending him because he did not have a good game.
The reason Sam has been a failure to this point, for the most part,
Well,
not here, but I mean other places,
Yeah.
he's been a turnover machine.
Yes.
And that's what happened yesterday, too. They now have, what they have, just 3 yesterday? He didn't lose a fumble yesterday.
No, I think it's just the 3 interceptions.
Well, remember the whole early season for the training camp thing, ball security. They came into Sunday tied for the lead for most turnovers.
Right. Here's the thing,
Fortunately for them, their defense takes the ball away.
If the kid had been healthy, he would have put McCarthy in yesterday, I think.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah.
He would have put McCarthy in last week. McCarthy would have started today, I think.
And even if Sam goes on and the boys get to the Super Bowl, and let's say they even win it,
I don't think we need to worry.
Sam's gone.
They can't afford him. They wouldn't be able to afford him.
No, they wouldn't want him.
They probably.
I want to go back to Crazy Nick. I like Crazy
The
Nick.
gunslinger?
The gunslinger.
Nick who? Foles?
Nick
No,
Mullins.
Mullins.
The guy, he was the guy that
Mullins.
played last year after Dobbsy flamed out.
Oh, yeah.
He just throws the damn thing.
He chucks that pigskin, baby.
He does, baby. He runs all over and says, I think I see it with one of my shirts down there. I'm going to throw it in the general direction.
So the funny thing is, I played the Burnsy clip. KOC, I bet he's got that in him. Did you see any of the post game yesterday?
He was defending Sam.
No. But he was handing out the game balls.
Oh, no.
And so we're watching.
Who got one besides the kicker?
The kicker and the long snapper.
Oh.
The kicker and the long snap. And I think he gave one to the entire defense. But you're hearing the audio. It's, 90 seconds long. And I was watching it with a kid, and he says, how come there's so many parts I can't hear? I said, well, they have to take that out because he's cussing. Because he was dropping the Effenheimer every other sentence.
Well, I'm sure he was. You can see that on the sideline, that he comes across as this polite young Irish man with four
member of the choir,
4 kids and all that stuff. But you can see him on the sideline. He's got a little of that Irish language in him when he's not counting. But we got a big debate going on here now that I just started on Twitter.
Uh-oh.
I was embarrassed to be a resident of Minnesota, represented by the Vikings by Cam Bynum's interception act that went on and on and on.
He was reprising a break dance done by some phony that showed up at the Olympics pretended to be a break dancer, right?
Right.
Wasn't that a bit she did?
I'm almost positive it became a viral sensation on social media.
Well, like you and me doing it.
Yeah, I said if it was a touchdown, it should be nullified and a 15-yard penalty assessed. This time, I'd nullify the interception and give him a first down. I would do that.
Give the ball back to Jacksonville.
It's gotta be faster than that. The celebration. 4 or 5 seconds. That's it. I'll give them that.
Are you going to start the clock? You got the stopwatch?
Well, once they get up.
Fine.
Once they get. Yeah. Fine a minute. No, I don't think that's $1 million. 100,000.
No, that's $1 million. That's $1 million.
Anyway.
That's the equivalent of not being able to throw the ball to first.
I was going to say, so that's on par with John Lester.
Who would know that somebody did this at the Olympics?
Well, it did go viral on social media.
When he was doing it, I did not link it to the Olympics. I had to read that.
Okay.
I think having breakdancing in the Olympics
that's the beginning of a lot more of that stuff.
Is like the end of the.
Let me ask both of you.
Anyway,
you're in Perry covering the Olympics, and your editor says, "Hey, I need you to head to breakdancing."
I'll bet you moonwalking becomes.
How do you know if? How do you know if it's good or bad?
That's true.
Yeah. How do you know if breakdancing is good or bad?
What's that term for moonwalking where it looks like they're walking on air?
Spacewalking?
There's something like that. I bet you that becomes an Olympics.
What was your other prediction on GL?
I had one. I can't remember what it was.
It was the horse thing. Remember the.
Hobby horse.
Hobby horse. Joel
They'll
thinks
have
that's
hobby horse competitions. Because in the name of equity, not everyone can afford a real horse. But you can all afford a broom.
Right.
I bet you they have.
can afford
You
a
can
broom.
get a broom.
Just a race, or do we jump over?
No, you'd have to do
jump
stuff.
over water, maybe.
Pat, there's already Germany has a convention for hobby horsing, and it's a big deal. I predict that'll be in the Olympics.
In the Olympics, this stupid mini tennis game.
Pickleball.
Everybody's
Pickleball.
Yeah, that'll
playing
be
in the
there
Olympics.
because that's big.
I was in the elevator. Where was I? I was in the elevator with this pickleball guy someplace. And
How'd you know he was a
You
pickleball guy?
could tell because they had the little racks, not the big little rackets. And he was all dressed up like in his shorts and his pickleball shoes and his pickleball shirt, and he was carrying his 3 different pickleball rackets, and I almost said, "You ain't a tennis player. What is wrong with you? That's, you don't have to dress like a jackass. You don't have to dress like an idiot. It's pickleball.
One thing you don't want to do.
Pickleball is 75-year-old women screeching that are retired down in Florida.
I got to tell you, we have
pickleball.
a pickleball league at the Jordan Rec Center.
And a lot of screeching?
Whoa, a lot of screeching. But one thing you don't want to do is if you're shooting hoops with your little guy, have the ball trickle onto the pickleball court area.
They get upset?
Oh, they get very feisty.
Okay.
Well,
It's like everyone's settled down
Is
here.
the ball big? Is it?
It's
a smaller
basically
ball.
think of a wiffle ball.
Yeah.
It's a little bit bigger than a wiffle ball.
Does it have holes in it?
Yes.
So there's no fast.
In fact, there's
speed is not a problem.
Let me see how fast or how big a
I've never
pickleball
played.
actually is.
I've never played pickleball.
I was introduced to it when we had the condo in Florida. I told you that.
They had a court there.
And this is a big complex. And they had 2 pickleball courts down at a little park at our far end. Mm-hmm. Well, by the time we left, they had like 12 pickleball courts. Mm-hmm. But they had the 2, and we were awoken every morning at 7:05 by 90-year-old women screeching as though they were having actual exercise.
The pickleball is slightly larger than a tennis ball.
Yeah.
But it does have the structure of a wiffle ball.
You hit it with a ping pong racket?
It's a bigger, almost like a...
Is it corded or is it solid?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
The ball?
The racket. Is
Would
it
you like some of
solid?
the rules?
No.
No. I'd like it to be made illegal along with break dancing in the end zone. I've decided to take, now that probably my last ever presidential election has been held here.
No, you've got a 57% chance.
You checked the chart.
But I'm not guessing I'll be coherent when the next one takes place.
We'll treat you like Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, right. So, I'll be doing that.
Come on, Pat, put your pen down.
Yes. So I've decided to become more conservative and more outspoken against nonsense.
Good.
Like pickleball guys walking
break
around.
dancing.
Pickleball players in white shorts like they're playing tennis. Also, break dancing in the end zone that takes 12 seconds. I'm going to become a more conservative guy.
And folks, let's not get too excited when Royce says he's going to be more conservative, that just means more than he was before.
Where did you find this chart that you checked on?
I looked for life expectancy.
Yeah, just Googling it for the hell of it?
Age,
Yeah.
by age, and I got it up there. And
I did fudge the numbers.
I had a hard time. It kept popping between 78 and 80. I wanted to get to 70 and 79. Finally came up, and then they ask
questions.
A bunch of questions about you and your life expectancy. And as I told you, I might have shaved 5 or 6 pounds off. But then I also, I was very honest for the most part. I exercised none and stuff like that.
What if you would put down daily exercise?
And then I probably have 10, 12 years, yeah. But is it really worth an extra Is it really worth?
I mean, what if you put my idea of exercise is I put the top down. I have a Royce walk.
No, I don't think that'd count. I don't think you do that. But that
Did it ask about diet?
Not much. No, it didn't really, which it probably should have. But
I see you're in here without a Diet Pepsi.
No, I got one.
Oh, you
Coke.
do have it, Coke. Yeah.
But I've been cutting down on that. Yes, I have. I drink a water, then I drink a Diet Coke.
Was it the life expectancy calculator?
yeah, you had a
Is that
calculator.
One of those. But I'm not exactly.
I'm not gonna do it.
There's many of those there. There's many of those. So.
Yeah.
I'm going to
But you
enter
probably
Joe's.
when you took one you apparently trusted.
Well, it was the easiest
Here we go.
one to get in. Okay.
Are you a smoker?
No.
Former? Never? Tried it once?
Never.
Tried it.
Tried it once.
Is that on there?
No, that's what I would enter in for
Yeah.
Patrick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never. Do you drink? No. That's I'm far enough removed from alcohol that I can give them a no on that.
Oh, of course.
And so that I think that helps you. I think that gives you. I bet no smoking and
On average,
no liquor.
how many smokes did you average per day in your day?
Yeah, but God, he's
That's what I'm saying. But it's
20
asking
years.
I quit 87.
Yeah,
87.
So they don't count.
I'm going to
They
say
don't.
no smoker.
No
I'd have to put former. I
Yeah,
guess.
you have to put. I clicked former for you.
All right. You're not doing it. I'm afraid to. I don't want to know what it is.
All right, I'll let
Probably
it go.
got 1 year left.
You got about 6 minutes.
He'll have 12 years. At
Oh,
least.
yeah.
Well, you're younger. First, you got a 3-4 year advantage on me
Well,
being younger.
That and I mean, look at how much you have to look
You
forward to
exercise. You walk places.
every day.
Yeah.
Every day you
Walk
walk.
every day.
I bet they give you 12 or 13.
We're not going
Plus,
to find out.
look at how much you've got to look forward to over the next 4 years at home.
Ooh.
You know that.
That could, do they ask any questions about political life?
But you know what keeps you young?
Not
Having
having Trump in.
You know what keeps you young? Having the grandkids around.
Oh, yes.
Jeez. It really does.
Yes, it does.
I tell you what they got. Pat will be amused.
Oh,
at
this
this.
is great.
They have the two youngest ones. They each have a cash register,
Okay.
and then when you hit the one button on it, it says "Welcome to Target."
Oh, really?
Did you find everything you need?
Really?
Yeah, and they got the drawer pops open, and you put the money in there.
Is it a noisy item?
Yes.
It's very noisy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I told you they all got scooters.
Yes.
Yeah, they,
In the house. In-house
in
scooter.
the house. One is fed driving by the food on her scooter. They stick a fork in, and she turns around and comes back.
A drive-through. It's almost like a
it's a
drive-through.
drive-through.
That's a nice deal.
Yeah.
It's been quite an adventure. It's
Speaking of grandkids, mine, the girl, the 15-year-old, went deer hunting this weekend.
Oh, really?
She does.
with her old man.
And then this other family that has kind of an outdoor place that they keep, wildlife, and they go shoot
Wait a
pheasants
minute.
and
We
stuff.
shooting ones that were trapped?
No. It's an area that, but they
Where they
might,
happen to have
might,
deer.
They might show up.
Yeah. You can do that at my house.
Somebody got one. She doesn't shoot, I don't think, but she enjoys being in on the cleaning them out process,
Oh.
which makes me a little nervous.
We were
She'll get right in there and pull out the
guts.
intestines and
Wow.
everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
You got to get on in there.
Hockey player though, maybe
Yeah,
that's
that's
it.
it,
That's
yeah.
a hockey player.
We were given a brief glimpse into Kenny's what was it, the carpet, the shack, and all that deal that
He
he had.
he had a deer stand full of horse flies.
Oh no!
Yeah, dead horse flies, and he had to clean that out. We were describing the carpet in there. It was really, really bad.
Rather,
sounding.
because it stays out in the
Stained,
elements
yeah,
and stuff. And
yeah.
Did he get one? Did he get one?
Well, we don't know. He's not with us. So.
He's
because
he's off
still
all week.
hunting? He's
Yeah,
still
he's
hunting.
off all
Yeah,
week. Yep.
yeah.
But I got to tell you, Saturday morning out where I am at, those shots were fired
By the way,
early.
if somebody gets one
What?
with some antlers on it,
Yeah,
here's what you could do. You could have them bring it over to the house,
yeah.
paint a nose red,
like
and put
to. I'd
the,
like to.
get the granddaughters out
Oh
there and
no!
tell them
Look
you
what
shot.
happened. Oh no!
That means there's no Christmas.
Oh no! Look at that would be I'd die to do that. I know. Hey, anybody listening, bring me a deer with antlers. We'll paint the nose.
Oh my God.
Oh God, I'll get him out there to look at it. We better have a moment of silence, kids.
I'm not a big venison guy though. I'll be.
You don't like
venison?
venison?
I'll eat venison sausage, but I don't like them.
You don't like the sticks?
I just.
Well,
I
can you
don't-
get a
well, I like the
slab, like a
the venison-
steak?
Yeah.
sure.
I don't like it. I'm not a big venison.
Does it taste wild?
I don't know. There's just a flavor to it that's not a big fan. But you can't beat some good venison sausage.
I was going to say, the stuff Kenny used to bring in was pretty dang good.
But I'm still worried about the chronic wasting disease.
Yeah.
How do you know they don't have
You know
it?
what? If I got chronic wasting disease and lost like 20, that might
That might
get another
boost
year.
up your number.
I might
Take the
get
test
another
again.
year.
Yeah.
You'll go up to 62%
Yeah,
for 8 more years.
What were you, 60% for 8 more years?
59% for
Well,
8 more
the odds
years.
are in you're playing with
That's
house
right.
money.
Yeah.
You know what this
I
is
am.
like, Patrick? This is akin to the win probability on ESPN. You know, when you would say, oh, the Vikes got a 68% chance to win the game now.
What's in baseball? What's WAR?
Here we go.
Wins above replacement.
went through this
but they
already.
never
Never mind.
tell us who the replacement is.
Yeah.
You know,
Isn't it
how
based
do you
upon the
figure out-
average player at that position?
Yeah, but who does that?
Who is it?
Were you the guy commenting on Lou Whitaker in Twitter?
No, I retweeted it. There's no reason that he's
Lou
not in the Hall
Whitaker,
of Fame.
kid I used to have Lou was his favorite player. Lou Whitaker should
You
be in the
can't
Hall
have
of Fame.
Trammell in the Hall of Fame
No.
and not Lou Whitaker.
Why is not Lou in there?
I don't know.
Was he ever been on a ballot?
Yeah, we didn't vote for him. He didn't.
Oh,
he didn't get
man.
enough votes.
Sweet Lou Whitaker.
He didn't get enough votes, and now the Old Timers Committee hasn't put him in. But they put Trammell in.
Yeah.
How can you put Trammell
Is
in
it-
without Whitaker?
is the only reason
that's like putting By the way, tonight Wendell and Darwitz go in the real Hall of Fame, the one in Toronto.
Good.
And that's
Yeah, they gotta go
not
in
a
together.
Trammell and Whitaker's like Darwitz and Wendell. You
Right.
gotta have them. You gotta have them.
Is it only
Takers to Evers.
Yes.
Is it only because Trammell won an MVP? Is that the only reason why?
I don't know. Or yes, he's a white guy. I don't know what the hell the difference is. But there's
I
the
liked Lou Whitaker.
Yeah.
Position. I think the shortstops are harder to find. The second baseman might be part of it. But Lou Whitaker's got to be in the Hall of Fame, for God's sakes. I think he's still with us. Let's do it while he's still with us. I think he's still with us.
He wouldn't even be that old.
70-something, right?
I hope he's still with us.
No, I think he was a great player. God, he was good.
He is 67 years old, born in Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah, get him in there. Come on.
Wow, his WAR is 75.1.
Yes.
Isn't that good?
That's very good.
Yes.
So that means
that's
if you
career.
got him in there, you'll win 75% of the time.
No.
over
you win
somebody you
75. It's a
What the hell is it?
It's a win. It's in other words, he's 75. His team won 75 more games because they had him.
Spent all 19 years with the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah,
77 to 95. Man, what a good run. Holy cow.
he was there when my favorite World Series when we
He won a World Series, didn't he?
had to, yeah.
84.
Yeah.
Right?
84,
Yeah.
when we had the riot. That was fun. Yeah. That's when they flew in the pizzas, and we thought they were evacuating us, and instead he was flying in the pizza for the Hungry Press. But I've told you this 100 times, but my favorite story is Galloway walking out on the roof and said, "You got to come and see this bleep." And they were down there. They had a cab turned over, and it was burning, and they were all whizzing on it. About 12
That was
guys.
still the old ballpark.
Yeah, right. Tiger Stadium.
Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, it was a great ballpark. God, I love that ballpark. It's
I did too.
it was fantastic. But thing about it was right field was like right here. Center was 440.
So it was rectangular
Yeah,
shaped?
like
Yeah.
that,
Okay.
The left field wasn't as odd in cycle, but right field was like 325. And when Reggie hit his home run that hit the transformer up on the roof there in right field, which is famous, that was in left field. That would never happen in left field. That was in right field.
Right.
So
Didn't Harmon hit one out of that ballpark?
yes, left field. That was the first guy to hit one out in left field.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, because everyone
They were
remembers
very
the-
much like Comiskey. They were very similar.
Because I remember Cecil Fielder did one as well. That's the only one I remember because obviously I didn't see
later
Harmon.
on it happened, but Harmon was the first.
You remember
Wow.
Larry Batson?
Oh God, yes.
I don't think he's with us.
No, Larry's. been
Larry
gone
Batson
for
was a
quite
hell of a
some time.
writer.
Okay,
And
he's a great writer.
Written a column about Harmon, and he was sitting in his office like this, listen to the game on the radio. And I think it was the game when Harmon hit one over the roof.
In Tiger Stadium.
Yep. And he went, finished his column. He was waiting for something.
Yeah, well, good for him.
Yeah.
That's, of course, now newspapers are doing that way more than, covering games by radio and TV and acting, than we, because that's one thing COVID did and the Zoom did is they're doing all this.
And when he was sitting there, you never wanted to bother him.
Don't interrupt.
He was frightening.
Yeah, he was also. John Rowe tells a great story of Batson calling him over to the
Little wagon.
the little wagon, and wanting to, and then he sits there next to him, and Batson's drinking at the little wagon and doesn't say anything for like 50 minutes.
Nope.
He just wanted somebody to sit next to him. I guess I don't know what it was. He was an odd.
But I was so
He's a
stupid.
very good, right? He found you though.
Yeah, I was so stupid that I wasn't afraid at the beginning. I wasn't smart enough to think, boy, because I would just talk to him normal, like a normal person, and all the rest of the guys are looking at me. Shut up! Don't talk to him. And I didn't, because I had a hard time with what was called the 10th ad.
Yes, you told me that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're writing a story.
Okay.
You're out at Met Sports Stadium, and you're writing a story, and you have to turn something in.
You have like a 10 p.m. deadline. They're starting games then at 7:35. So,
You got to turn in something.
So you got to make that print edition. You have to send them a bunch of copy, then you rewrite for the.
You just keep adding to it.
Yeah, you can
You add to
10th
what
ad,
you
11th
sent
ad.
them.
Gotcha.
You got 10th ad, 11th
And I
ad, 12th
really
ad.
was bothered by the fact it was called the 10th ad. I said, what if I'm only sending you the 3rd?
That was fine. That was,
And the 4th. Why is it the 10th? And he'd look at me and I'd say, no, I want to know why it's the 10th.
Yes, that's I
Because
don't
I
blame
haven't
you.
gotten to the 10th one. Why are you calling it the 10th?
Because-
Only on the 3rd.
I'm at the 3rd.
But here's the reason. The 10th and the 11th and 12th ad are kind of covering the first 5 innings.
I
So
see.
you write the first one like after
In
4
the
innings.
top of the 6th, Rod and Crew hit into a
Yeah,
double
that
play,
was
and they
10th
left
ad.
the inning with Oakland ahead 3-2.
But then after
Send
that, you would have. Then if you wanted this copy of that actually decided the game, that would be first ad, second ad, third ad. So they would. But so they started 10th in case you sent a lot of ads. But Joe, not being a math whiz,
Right. He had a problem with the sequence.
Yes, he did.
Why was the 10th the last?
Well, 10th wasn't the last. They might have 11th, 12th, 13th.
I never got to an 11th or 12th.
You could add, if you sent a 10th ad after three or four innings, and then something happened that you wanted to put underneath it, you would then have the 11th ad. If you wanted something above it, then it would be one of the higher numbers.
Okay.
I never had to deal with that, though. At St. Paul, we didn't do 10. We didn't do that.
We did it.
Would you be able to do a 10th ad with a yellow legal pad covering a ball game?
No.
Well, the first time he went out there, he didn't bring his typewriter.
I didn't have a typewriter.
Thought he'd go back to the office and hack
That's
her
how
out, but-
little you were told by Batson.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Who was your
What did I think? And I was just
I'm going to head back to the office,
What did I
fellas.
think? 74 your first year?
75,
maybe.
July of 73 I joined them.
Okay.
But by the fall of 73 I was covering a Twins game.
But who was your slot guys?
It was Bud, I think.
Oh, you had Bud?
Yeah.
Sorensen gone by then. Bob Sorensen?
No, he was around.
Sorehead. Yeah, he was the greatest.
Yeah.
He was he's
Adamite.
the guy that he went from that to become the book editor. Bob Sorensen, great guy, died young, too bad.
Yep.
But Sid's one of the great Sid's lines. He's walking through. This is when I was a copy boy. So 64, 5 or 6 or something. And he goes by and he stops. He does this break. Says, "You like reading those books, huh?" It alarmed him. It alarmed
Why
him.
are
that
books here?
It alarmed him that somebody actually read. Because Sorensen would bring his own lunch in, an apple and a sandwich, and move away from the desk and sit over there and put his feet up, and he'd be reading a paperback.
Yeah.
You read those books, huh?
Like reading them books, huh?
Is Sorensen the one with the kid that went to the Carolina?
Tommy went to.
Well, didn't he become a sports
Charlotte
writer?
Was a columnist there for years.
Yeah.
I think he's retired.
Yeah.
Like most common sense guys. Of
Why
that
are we
age.
here? What is this deal? We're doing this.
I sent out a salute to the lieutenant colonel.
I saw that. Yes.
Yeah. Birthday of the Marines.
249 years.
Yeah.
Next year will be a hoot.
Ooh, he'll be big. He'll put on his dress uniform.
Bone Spurs might even show up for that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, President Bone Spurs. But anyway, somebody on Twitter was pretty good. He says, how many retired lieutenant colonels have a father who's still working?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
How old is Jim?
Mid-50s. He came along rather young, so what? Mid-50s.
We got to get Jim some pizza.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
you killed the kid.
Joe and I didn't know each other then.
Oh.
Joe had a hard time keeping up in those days.
Yeah. I don't think I would have
He was
tried.
too civilized.
No, I'd walk into a place. I remember walking into a place in Boston where you and Fowler were drinking, and I was
utter
treated like
disdain.
gum. They stepped on their shoes,
Yes.
Get them out of here.
He doesn't want
Hey, guys, how are you?
He doesn't want to go out and hit the streets. To hell with him.
No time for you.
Worst day of my life was we were there on Patriots Day.
Patriots Day, sure.
Fergie Jenkins is pitching. The fastest. You loved if you covered a Fergie Jenkins game. I just threw it over. It's 12:59 and the game's over.
Oh, God.
They don't close the bars till 2. I spent like 4 hours writing various topics, and I still had way too much drinking time, in Boston. So, yeah, it was bad.
It might have been on that trip where you were not acknowledging me when I walked into the bar where you and Fowler were.
Fowler was like my role model, and if he didn't treat somebody well, then I do remember screaming at you once, though, at Shea Stadium.
When
you wanted Tony to pinch hit in the 12th, and he'd been out of the game since the 8th. I had this, hey, Joe, we already used him.
Was the question, why don't they put Oliva back in?
No, he wanted him to pinch hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he'd already played.
I know. He already limped around. That's when Tony was in full limp, because the years we were at Shea Stadium were 74 and 5 because they were rebuilding Yankee Stadium.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they were, basically tore the whole damn thing down and rebuilt it. So anyway, what else what other sporting events do we? Gophers, how about that, Joe?
What a stinkeroo that game was.
You end up beating all these pretty good teams. You got in this roll. You've won 4 in a row, and you go play your lousy former quarterback who you had to fire to bring in Brosmer, and he ended up going to Rutgers, and then you get beat. That was a bad loss.
I'm intrigued by the Indiana story, though.
It's incredible.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
And this coach must be something.
It is. He says, did you see the post-game interview? What are we, 10-0?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
He's
But
Google me, he says. Google me.
I
win.
when he first got hired.
I win. Google it.
Somebody made the great point that said Indiana just beat Michigan to go 10-0, and it wasn't an upset. Meaning the win over Michigan wasn't an upset.
14 and a half.
Is that what the number was?
14 and a half point favorites.
Yes.
Wow.
And they didn't cover. It's unbelievable.
Why are they ranked only
Michigan-
5th in the nation?
Well, they
They
weren't
were.
in the top 10 until 2 weeks
Yeah,
ago.
they weren't.
Because their schedule was
Well,
easy,
now they're
but-
5th.
But
Yeah.
here's the stat. Harbaugh had a horrible team in COVID, right? Because he didn't give a damn. Because they went 2-4 that year, and Indiana beat them in 2020 in the COVID season. Before that, Michigan had beaten them 24 in a row. 20
And in
bad.
school history, they've never been 10-0.
No, that's the first time.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's. I did a piece on it last week, and I talked to my friend Bill Benner, I've been down there, but somebody put me on Don Fisher, who's their play-by-play guy for 50 years for football and basketball, and I talked to this guy, and he's been doing it for 50 years. I think he's 76 or 7. He's got a voice like he's 45.
Yeah.
He's got this voice. So Barrero is a Indiana grad. He's an Indiana grad. So I called him up and I said, "What's the deal with this Don Fisher?" He says, "He never ages." He said, "We were talking about that when I was in school in the 70s. This guy's like 76 or 7, and he's like looks like he's 50, and he's and he's having the time of his
Now
life.
he's got to be just happy as hell.
Yeah, Signetti's quote was how are you going to convince Indiana players to come to Indiana? He says, pretty simple. I win. Google me.
Google it. Yeah.
God, what a boss move.
Oh, God.
But he's living up to it.
Yeah.
He's 63, though. He's not a young guy.
He was
He's
in
had
the
a lot
minor
of
leagues
jobs.
for a long time.
But James Madison, he brought them from second-level power to a good right away instantly. But he got 13 players from there on this team. It's going to be harder to do next time around because he's not going to be able to raid. And he brought in 20-some transfers for this
But
revival.
will the
here.
transfer portal be easier for a guy like that
sure,
to bring?
I'm sure. If they supposedly he's got a couple of guys who gave him a lot of money, and they've done really well in the portal buying guys. So you never think of
You buy him with the NIL money?
Yeah. You come up with the NIL money. It's unbelievable that.
And because of Indiana's boosters, I mean, primarily basketball, but will that help? Obviously, the program.
Well, you gotta find a couple, 3 rich guys who care enough about everybody says we got all these Fortune 400 companies. Yeah, I said they got board of directors. They can't just. It's not like the old days of the big cigars running downtown. If they had NIL. Hey, listen, when Murray went to the Rose Bowl, they had NIL. They just didn't call it that, when you were getting the black kids from the South, And they had a guy named Don Knutson who was, I think, construction guy. But he was Murray's buddy, and they were going to fire Murray. They were going to run out Murray. And Knutson started to gave Murray some assets that helped bring in all the players. In 1959, in 58 they were 1-8, and 59 they were 2-7, but I was at the second Gopher game I ever went to was their last season game against Wisconsin, and that's when they hung him in it. But my brother and I are walking back, and we were walking right by the tree where they had Murray hanging. And the next year they go to the Rose. Next year they had these freshmen on campus, these black kids from the South. We'd never integrated. Iowa, had integrated earlier than us, but Sandy Stevens was a freshman in '59 and couldn't play, and freshmen weren't allowed to play until mid-'60s. So. But he had this, he brought in Bobby. Next year, Bobby Bell. The year after that, Carl Eller. All these kids from the South who couldn't go to the SEC schools. The SEC was, segregated.
Sure.
So, anyway, that was.
It was segregated until Bear Bryant saw OJ.
Sam Bam Cunningham.
Sam Bam Cunningham.
Really?
He scored 4 touchdowns against him in Birmingham. Tuscaloosa and said, I got to get one of those fellas, supposedly. And they did. They did. God, this college football season, though, has been screwy.
Well, the Big Ten
Florida State was whining about not going to the
Final Four.
Is 1-9.
Got handled pretty well by Notre Dame.
Notre Dame named the score against